All right. We are live. We're expecting probably a few more folks to join us, but since everyone who's on the call now is on time, won't keep you waiting. So thanks everybody for joining us. This is kind of been doing a series here the past 5 weeks for some live Q&A calls with a lot of the increased awareness that we've seen for folks who are trying to get online, start perishable shipping businesses, do their own home delivery with the current climate. So to start out here, I just want to do a quick tech check to make sure that you guys can hear us and that you can see us. So let us know in the chat box if all the technology is working okay. Jen says all good. All right. Sounds like we're okay. So if it's been on your radar to get into perishable shipping or start your own home delivery business, you are in the right place. So we are recording this webinar, and in the event that you can't make it through the entire session with us, this will be recorded. We'll send it back out. And we're also probably going to make this available for folks after the fact as well. So if you're watching this training on the replay, we're going to continue to address you folks, and we want you to take it, take this training serious and digest it all the way through to the end. I know a lot of times when I watch recorded webinars, sometimes I have a tendency not to take the training as serious, but we've put a lot of effort into the material that we're about to share with you guys. It's been shared in other online courses as well. And it's really just taking basically everything that we've learned in the last 3 years of perishable shipping and putting all of those don't do's and to do's all in one framework. So what we want to do here, I'm joined with my brother Blaine, who is he's our CEO here at Seven Sons at the farm. So he does a lot of people managing and really just building the vision and direction for the business. I'm involved more on the operations side of things, so very closely to what we've been doing with shipping here recently. And we're both involved in our Grace Cart software business as well. If you guys could do us a favor, that's a little bit about us, but could you do us a quick favor and let us know? We want to hear from you in the chat box. Let us know, just put in your name, let us know who you are, where you're from, and maybe let us know how many years that you've been direct marketing. That would be helpful to allow us to get to know who's on the call a little bit more. And if you guys don't see the chat box link, there should be one probably up on the top right-hand corner. So who you are, where you're tuning in from, and how many years you've been direct marketing. If you're just getting started and this is new to you, then that's great as well. We're happy to have you on the call. All right.
Yeah, it looks like we have Andrea from New York on there. So, okay, here we are.
Marlon, Linda. All right. It's great to have you guys on the call.
Well, I see somebody from Australia. That's cool, tuning in. Welcome.
Right. That's we hope we didn't mess anything up too much with the time zone difference. I'm not sure what that would be for you guys.
Raymer Family Farms, hey guys. Anastasia's on. Jen.
So what we're going to do, Blaine and I are going to we're going to go through this training. We're going to keep it, we're kind of going to have a dialogue as we go through this, because basically we have recorded this training a couple times in the past as well. And we've kind of updated a few aspects of it. And we're probably going to add a little bit of just some lessons we've learned here recently with COVID-19 and kind of the demand increase that we've seen in our shipping program through that as well. So the agenda here is going to be, Blaine, in case you're tuning into one of these Q&A calls for the first time, Blaine's going to give us an overview, give you guys an overview of our farm, our business, just let you know a little bit more about kind of our history and our progression to shipping and direct marketing. Then we'll dive into the training, which we call the Perishable Shipping Framework. And as you guys think of questions through Blaine's introduction and as we're going through the training, we're going to ask that you just write those down, because we'll get to Q&As at the end. And if you write those down, then we'll be sure to get to them at the end. Molly's not on the call with us today, so we're not going to be doing as good of a job keeping an eye on the chat box as we're going on. So just write down the questions. We'll get to whatever we can at the end of this. But without further ado, Blaine, I'll turn it over to you. Can you give us a little bit of history about the business and kind of give an introduction into Seven Sons and Gray's Cart? I think we have a slide deck here that I can pull up.
Yep, would be happy to do that. And I'm hoping everybody can hear us okay. A couple folks chatting in there that some of the audio is jumbled on them, but are you able to pull up the slide deck?
In the past, we have found that Chrome has worked better for this easy webinar tool that we're using. So if you guys are in a different web browser than Chrome and it doesn't seem to be working well, might suggest trying another web browser to solve that issue.
Yep. You've got the slide deck up, Brooks, so I can go ahead and get started. And again, welcome to this call. And there already has been for the last couple of years a real groundswelling of opportunity with farmers taking advantage of establishing a regional shipping program. That has quickly become the fastest growing sales channel for us here at Seven Sons. Between everything that we're doing, we've in the past we did farmers markets, don't do that anymore, but from our farm store to our buying clubs to shipping and home delivery, and we're going to go through that on this webinar here, is quickly taking over everything that we're doing, and for good reason. It makes a lot of sense, and given the climate that we're in now, that's just being majorly accentuated. So, but yeah, as Brooks said, I can give you guys some background behind our farm. And so our farm is Seven Sons. We're located here in Northeast Indiana. I have 6 other brothers, Brooks being one of them, that works here on the farm. We have a staff currently of about 50 people, awesome people and staff that work for us here at Seven Sons. And it's just been amazing to be surrounded by such an awesome team. 6 years ago, we started working on developing our own e-commerce web platform just for our own farm. We were up against several challenges when it came to an e-commerce system that really worked well for what a farm like us was trying to do, selling products by the weight, pickup locations, delayed payments if you need to weigh your items, just all kinds of different things. And so we started developing our own e-commerce system about 6 years ago and had a lot of farms asking us what system we used. We eventually started licensing a software platform that we have since called Gray's Cart, and roughly 330 to 340 other farms throughout the world, mainly US and Canada, use Gray's Cart as their e-commerce platform. So it's a real privilege and for us to have been able to develop that and see it being such a benefit to so many farms. So, but backing up a little bit here, you might be wondering, so why listen to Seven Sons? As I mentioned, we have quite a bit of experience specifically in shipping and direct marketing. We're serving roughly about this slide's out of date. We serve about 7,000, 8,000 customers now each year. And as I mentioned before, we've got our shipping sales channels is by far the fastest growing channel that we have. So lots of exciting things happening. It's a great time to be in direct marketing right now, and the tools that are available to us and the demands that we're seeing from this emerging customer. This is a picture of our family farm. As I mentioned, I do have 6 other brothers, and all but one of us will be married here by next month. The baby brother's getting married. That's my older brother Blake, who takes care of, heads up the livestock and production operations. So on our farm, we finish about 200 head of 100% grass-fed beef cattle here. And but all together, we're between the different producers that we're networked with, we will direct market anywhere from 600 to 1,000 beef animals every year. And most of that is all going direct to a consumer, directly to their door. Another 500 to 1,000 hogs that we produce, pasture-raised hogs on our farm here. And we also rely on networking farms for that as well. I think we're at about 7,000 laying hens, Brooks, currently. And we cannot keep up. Probably right now we could sell twice as many eggs as what we can get from these 8,000 laying hens, and the demand for eggs has really spiked here recently. We've actually found some creative ways to ship them via FedEx and home delivery channels, which is pretty cool. But that wasn't how it started off at all. Backing up a little bit, we were just a conventional row crop and confinement hog farm, actually back in the 80s into the early 90s. This picture was taken right at about 1999, early 2000. This is right when we started the Seven Sons business. And we started Seven Sons, a direct marketing business, and switching to pasture-raised regenerative farming practices because we really had a heart change. My parents had a real heart change about a farmer's responsibility to the people that we serve and the people that we feed. And no matter what kind of a farmer you are, you affect the food system. And through a series of health struggles that my family was going through, matter of fact, one of our family members became very sick, that really compelled my parents to dig deeper into health and nutrition. It led them to a completely different path in agriculture. And plus, at this point, we were really struggling financially as well. We had roughly 1,000 acres of row crops, and at one time that 1,000 acres didn't even support one full-time income. And I'm happy to say that today we don't have 1,000 acres anymore. We have 500 acres and supporting 50 people on our farm, which is exciting. But it took a lot to get there. This is kind of the beginning 20 years ago right here. And Brooks, if you want to hit the next slide. This was a quote that really rang true for us. If you don't change the direction that you're going, then you're likely to end up where you're headed. And that was kind of the epiphany that we were at 20 years ago. If you would talk to my parents when they really had a vision to change the future of our farming operation and the future that would be here for their kids, myself and Brooks and my other brothers that are involved. And so, Brooks, if you hit the next slide, we were really inspired by these mentors right here. Ray Smith on the far left there, on my left, is a soil agronomist that introduced us to Alan Nation. Alan Nation introduced us to Joel Salatin and a few other mentors, Alan Williams, and the rest is history. But when we first met these folks and learned about what Joel Salatin was doing, we became very, very inspired. And a lot of you on this call and watching the webinar replay, you know who your mentors are and who have really inspired you to get started doing something different, to take that leap of faith, to change the future that your farm is on. And so we did that. We closed the doors to our confinement hog operation. We converted row crop acreage to pastures, perennial pastures, started building fencing, putting waterline infrastructure. We were beyond excited about the new direction and a new vision for our farm. But at the same time, we were already struggling financially. And when you add all of these investments into the farm and the loans that we had to take out as we bought livestock, by the time we got to our third year, we were really feeling that pinch. And it was a real struggle. And we call this the third year struggle is what we call this at Seven Sons. And many of us get stuck in that third year. And what I mean by that, it's the point in which you've put all your energy and capital into getting your new farm started or changing the direction of your farm. And by about the third year, you finally have some products to start direct marketing, and you realize, whoa, this marketing thing doesn't just happen on its own. It needs time to build as well. It takes a lot of intention as well. And that third year can be a real struggle, and it's something where you really have to remind yourself where you're going, why you're doing what you're doing, and stick to it. And unfortunately, we felt like we got stuck in that third year struggle for many, matter of fact, about 10 years of just spinning our wheels, figuring out what was working and what wasn't working. And really, that's a big part of our vision at Seven Sons, is to be able to come along farms like yourself that have that courage to make change and go a new direction or start a new farm. We want to come along with you and help shortchange that struggle that you get to at that third year trying to get customers. So what we discovered, we finally found a secret, the breakthrough. What we began to recognize is that as regenerative pasture-based farms, if we want to be successful with direct marketing, we have to have a quality product. And we have to be able to build trust with our customers. We have to be able to compete in that economy of quality and trust. And guess what? You and I, our farms, we are very well equipped to produce a quality product that a consumer wants, and we're very well positioned to build trust with that customer. We can outcompete the biggest marketers in the world, the Amazons, when it comes to quality and trust. But where at Seven Sons we were falling flat on our face and beating our head up against the wall was when it came to inconvenience. As farmers, we're just by nature very inconvenient to customers. By the time you consider where farms are in rural places in the United States, our customers are in the cities. There's a distance gap. No one knows that you exist. That's inconvenient. If they do find you, how do you get your products to them? That's what this webinar is about, adding that secret ingredient of convenience. And it's not all that hard. It took us way too many years to realize that was the missing link. We just have to put ourselves in our customers' shoes and think about how we can become more convenient for them. Brooks, if you hit the next slide, this is just as an example. The reason that there's companies like ButcherBox and CrowdCount and Thrive Market, when there's so many farms in all these communities like yourself that have products to sell to customers, why is it that people like ButcherBox and CrowdCow, Thrive Market, and I could just go on and on, why is it these companies are becoming multi-million-dollar companies and they've got consumers flocking to them? The reason is these companies are focused on making their products convenient for consumers. That's the only reason, because you and I can tell a lot better story than what ButcherBox can, and nothing against these companies, but we can outcompete in the economy of quality and authenticity. So why aren't we outcompeting these guys? It's convenience. But the great news is there's plenty of examples, and we're going to share some proof with you. You can compete, even at a small scale. Brooks is going to share with you how to get started with shipping your products. That slide we had up there was Will Harris, a good friend of ours. Online shipping is the fastest growing sales channel for Will Harris at White Oak Pastures. A lot of you probably know that Jill Salatin has just recently, in the last year or year and a half, has started shipping their products, and for good reason. This is what the consumer is asking for. And so we've been helping clients like David and Mariah Boatwright in Missouri. They just launched their shipping program, I think it was last year, with some of the help that we're going to be sharing with you on this webinar. Lots of success stories and examples from around the country, folks that we've helped equip with knowledge and tools to get their shipping programs off the ground at a small scale. So the good news is we can compete, right, Brooks?
Yes. Yeah. It's there is, the Shipping for Dummies book hadn't been written when we had gotten started, but the good news is that you're seeing a lot more training, technology, folks who, as this industry develops, in grass-fed beef and regenerative food, you're seeing a lot more resources coming out there. And that's what we're trying to do here too as well. Take those painful headaches and expensive mistakes we made along the way, and help you guys avoid those.
Awesome. Yep. So that's the secret ingredient that really, once we understood, this is about consumer convenience. That's going to be the number one barrier that determines our success as a direct marketing farm. Once we identified that and put steps in place to address it, that's when we really saw our business begin to really get legs on it, and begin to scale. So that's the ingredient that I encourage you to think about on your farm. And again, put yourselves in your customers' shoes. And right now, consumers, if you're in the food business right now, you're in the healthy food business on top of that, and if you can get products delivered to a customer's home, that's really a magical combination, as we're seeing right now in this environment with farms growing by. It's not been uncommon for us to hear from farms across the country where their business for shipping online is growing by 300%, 400%, 500%. I talked to someone yesterday up in Michigan that their business grew by 600% just in the last month through online delivery and shipping. So, Brooks, I just wanted to share that background. Thanks for letting me do that, and I'll let you kind of take over from here with the training you've got lined up.
We share this Venn diagram a lot, and it almost seems too simple, but every time that we sit down and kind of reflect on our business and what's helped, it grow completely from scratch to where it is today, so much of it, when it comes to the direct marketing side of things, it does come down to convenience. Sometimes some of the problems that we face seem completely different, but focusing on solving your customer's problem and, we're seeing, and for consumers in this industry, convenience is something they very much value. If you just focus on solving that problem, you're always going to benefit every time. So that's what we're talking about here with shipping. There's obviously can't be a more convenient sales channel than delivering your product directly to your customer's door. So in this training, we're going to try to take a shotgun approach and get through it quickly because we want to get time to your guys' questions here at the end. But we're not just going to focus on the logistics and the how-tos of how to pack a box and get it delivered to your customer's door. What we really want to do is take a high-level approach to show you how can you get started as quickly as possible and really just make this an easy process. Because when we first made the decision, we put it off for a long time for a couple of reasons, but when we finally made this decision to get into shipping, Blaine, it probably took us an entire year before we finally got it off the ground.
Yeah.
So that's the goal with this, is we're just trying to take a high level approach to show you what are some simple decisions you can make to get this started, and then you can continue to refine and improve this over time. So a question for everyone who is on the call here live with us, and you can be thinking about this too if you're watching the replay, but whether you are currently shipping and doing home deliveries right now, let us know in the chat box, what is the biggest problem that you're hoping to improve with your current shipping program? Or if you're just getting started, you haven't launched it yet, let us know what has been the biggest barrier to getting this started and launched and off the ground. I know for us, when we were getting started, it really was just figuring out probably, do we start out with regional shipping? Do we service the whole country? I know that kind of figuring out that whole logistics of working with these different carriers and how to serve folks without breaking the bank was a really big barrier for us when getting started.
Yeah, Brooks Deborah says that, the cost of shipping materials and the literal cost of shipping is a barrier to think about. How do you account for that? Someone else, Carol, finding drivers. Yep, getting that product delivered in a truck somewhere. Yep. Best sourcing for materials, shipping material. Yeah, Brooks, it took us, how many shipping material providers have we been through? How many things have we tested? It was a nightmare.
Probably 15 different companies. We ran over time over 100 plus thermal tests to see what option is going to be best for us. So we're going to show you at the end some ways where you can kind of take some of the work that we've done with that testing to hopefully get a leg up. But yeah, a lot of commonality here. A couple of things that we run into or we see commonalities when we're helping clients get started with perishable shipping is really the first thing is just where to even begin. The logistics world is complicated. We're dealing with something very fragile, perishable food products that need to be delivered in a certain time window. You got these carriers who have all these different service options, shipping air, ground. It can be really difficult when you look at the whole picture, how to put this in chronological order and even know what is the first step to getting started. Once you figure out that first step, you start doing some research, you're going to realize that it's expensive, especially when you're starting out from scratch. I saw a couple of people in the chat box who just mentioned the cost of packaging is their biggest barrier to getting started. But if you find your suppliers, you figure out what to do. For some folks, and I've seen this, just a lot of smart people who I know are capable of getting this off the ground aren't able to because they got too many irons in the fire and there's just a lack of time. I think we can all resonate with this one, with any new initiative that we want, to do and make a goal for on the farm. Sometimes there's not enough time to pursue it. So that's the goal of what we want to do here. Our promise on this webinar is we want to help you narrow your focus on a smaller goal so you can get started with shipping in record time. We want to do it in a way that you won't break the piggy bank. We want this to be affordable from scratch, even if you're starting with very small volumes. And then we're also going to take some time to show you how to reduce some buyer friction was what I call it on your website. Because you'll notice for a lot of us, if you're already direct marketing, you might be doing pickup locations, you might have a farm store. If you're doing any sort of online ordering, once you start adding shipping to the whole mix on that same website, it can be hard to reduce confusion for your customers when they're shopping from you. And a confused mind online with short attention span, confused mind never buys. So we want to make sure that we address this because it really is that important. And then at the end, we're going to show you some additional training material that we put together. Some of you may have seen some of the resources that we have, but we want to just as a refresher bring this to light, some of the additional advanced training materials that we have, and we'll point you guys in the right direction to continue the learning to make sure that you have a plan to follow along the way. So I'm analytical. The training that we're going through here is called the Perishable Shipping Framework. So we're going to go through another quick Venn diagram. And what we're going to overview here is the 3 most important things that you need to get right to have success in perishable shipping. So following the common theme here, the first thing we need to do is eliminate the complexities to getting started. So again, there's 1,000 different packaging options out there. Which one's the best? They're all going to tell you that they're the best, but there's it can be very redundant, and it can be very you can spend a lot of time doing research on all the different options. It seems like I see almost a new packaging option come out on the market every month or so. There's a lot of different technology that you might need along the way, from e-commerce platforms to shipping printing softwares and the hardware that's involved with that. FedEx and UPS, are those the carriers that you should use? And then, both of those carriers have a number of different services that you can use. There's air freight, there's ground freight, which one's the best when you're shipping perishable product. So again, lots of complexities, especially if you're trying to service the entire country. And this is where we want to focus, because depending on where someone lives in the world or in the country here that you're trying to service, they could have a different transit time, and you might need a different type of box to service them. So if you're trying to service the whole country, this is where it gets very, very complex. There can be an infinite number of complexities with trying to service someone who's on the East Coast versus the West Coast, depending on where you're shipping from. So the easiest way that we tell folks to cut through all the complexity to get started is to just start with a smaller goal, okay? And for us, that started out for us with just 1-day ground shipping. So when you're shipping ground through UPS and FedEx, they can service basically from your origin zip, a certain number of zip codes within 1 day. And ground shipping is always going to be your cheapest option. So doing that, what you're able to do is you're able to just eliminate so much of the complexities with getting started with shipping. So what I have pulled up on my slides here is FedEx's ground transit map. So this shows me basically where can I service the country and how many days it would take me to deliver a box through the ground network. And that pink area for me is anywhere that FedEx can service within 24 hours, so 1 day. The blue area is 2 days, and you get the map from there. So did you have something you want to mention, Blaine? I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, so I don't know. Do you have later how many people are in that pink area that 1 day for us? Because I just remind people, that not only is that your lowest cost zone to get products delivered to your customer, it's also always going to be your biggest opportunity. If you look at Seven Sons, and if you look at the thousands of customers that order from us, the biggest majority, kind of the 80-20 rule is coming from that 1 day zone. I think how many million people, Brooks, are in that for us?
In our area, everyone's origin zip is going to be different, but for our area, we can service 44 million people in that pink area there. So for us, it's a great market. For most of you who are living on the coast, that's going to be great for you as well. Now, if you're in the mountain region, you might want to focus on figuring out how to make 2-day ground work when you're just starting out, just to get to some metropolitan areas. And we'll kind of tell you what you need to have figured out in order to make that happen. But starting with 1 day ground or 2 day ground, 1 day ground is the easiest to get started. And then you can take this in phases. See, because the biggest value point, and like I say, not only, Blaine mentioned it, I think it's 80+% for sure of our customers live within this 1 day ground region for us. So the effort to get started, not only is it going to be much easier just to start with 1 day ground, that's going to be your highest return on the time investment to figure this all out. So this is why we recommend starting with this. And there's a couple of things to be thinking about. See, so ground is always going to be your lowest cost option. We mentioned that. 1 day ground means that you get a consistent transit time. So what that means is that you can figure out, you can build your whole program around this, because now you got some parameters defined. You know that your box is always going to be delivered for 24 hours. Now you have a path to start doing research, contacting the box companies to find a box template that you can use to just keep product frozen for 24 hours. See, once once you have some of this defined as far as the requirements, as far as keeping your product frozen inside this box, it just makes everything so much easier to build a program around. Another big value of that is you can start with a single box template that you need to keep product frozen for 24 hours. And then you can usually buy in bulk, which, Blaine, we all know that if you buy your packaging in bulk, that's going to be one of the biggest points of economy of scale. The more volume you get with your packaging, the lower you're going to get, your price down. So if you stick with one single type of box that works for 24 hours, then you can put more effort in buying in bulk and that packaging getting better rates. One day ground also reduces the variabilities in your delivery costs. So FedEx and UPS, these guys, their pricing for how they charge you for shipments can be pretty complicated. So, they'll charge you a different price depending on where someone lives, depending on the weight of the box and the service that you choose. But if you're always choosing one day ground and you're shipping within 24 hours, then your cost is going to be much, much more consistent. So it makes it easier to plan when you're pricing your products and make sure that you have a program that's going to be profitable. And again, we mentioned it, one day ground is always going to have the highest return on your time investment. And
Brooks, I just if I could real quick, and I know we got to keep moving, we're at the half hour already, but I wanted to mention that one of the reasons that our one day ground zone is so successful, and we see this for farms everywhere. Not only is it your lowest cost, so that means it's going to be your highest value proposition to serve a customer within that one day zone. But one of the reasons it's also so successful for a lot of farms is because people within that one day shipping zone radius, they feel closer to you. Your message is going to resonate with them better as a regional farm, and that is just going to create a higher conversion rate on traffic. When someone lands on your website and they're in the same state as you, you're just going to be that much more compelling, and the ability to build trust with someone is that much greater. If they're a state away, that's also a great region to be in. By the time you get 5-6 states away, your message just doesn't resonate as much, and your conversion rate goes down. So that's why we're saying focus on that one day ground zone first. As Brooks mentioned, it eliminates all the complexities. It gives you something to plan on, keeps your costs low, just allows you to just jump in and get started. And Brooks will be covering the reason why GrazeCart has built-in tools that makes it so easy to just target that area, so you're not accidentally getting customers from orders from customers outside of that zone. That's a critical aspect that was a big kind of a building or a block for us, Brooks, and part of the reason we built GrazeCart the way we did.
Out regionally here, like we'll have clients who, they're the amount of people that they can service in that one day ground area, that for them, that meets the goals that they have for the production on their farm. And they can build a market just in that one day ground area. And that can be, for some people, that's where we see people, they stop it right here, right at one day ground. Now, if you do want to expand your delivery radius, it's a great way to get started. Then once you get some experience under your belt, you can learn how to get in a different type of box and make 2 day ground work, or maybe servicing the entire country from there. But this is the easiest way to get that experience and get launched. A couple of tools we want to make you guys aware of. The FedEx map that we were showing you before, both UPS and FedEx have a ground transit map. We'll give you resources to where to find those at the end of this. This is sometimes I think it's fun just to do research when this is on your radar. This is the Big Radius tool from statsamerica.com. If you're just curious to see what is the market potential for your one day ground, area that you can service, you can use this tool, and it will give you demographic information based off of, the search criteria you do. So here you can see for us, about 44 million people live within that region. We can definitely build a market off of that, and we are. But I think it's close to 90% of our customers probably live within that area, which most people are surprised to hear. So again, we mentioned it. You can take this in phases once you get the experience under your belt. Blaine mentioned it before. The question you might be thinking about, if you're already doing online ordering, it might be on your radar. How in the world am I going to limit the ordering on my website within a geographic, area that looks very inconsistent. FedEx's boundaries don't follow an entire state or anything like that. So this was one of the problems that we ran into when we first started shipping 3 years ago, which is why we incorporated a solution into the Gray's Car platform. So we built a feature called delivery zones. And what this does is it allows you to program inside your system. You can create these regional delivery zones that you can refine all the way down to the individual zip code, or you can include certain states if you're just servicing your home state. A lot of you who are using state inspected processors, you'll want to do it that way anyways, just to where you make sure you don't ship outside of your state lines. But this tool will basically allow that, no one's able to place an order on your website unless they live inside of this area. And it's very important because you'll find once you start taking orders online, nothing's going to stop online visitors from finding you all across the country or all across the world, and nothing, otherwise would stop them from placing an order. So this ensures that you're able to service people inside this regional area. And then there's some advanced some tailored tools that you can use to define some pricing and selection that we'll get to later as well. But the way this works, it's an easy ask. Someone lands on our website, they go to the store. You have the option to ask them to enter their zip code, and then it will allow them to shop the store. And then if you're doing pickup locations as well, they can always update from home delivery to one of your local pickup locations if you're doing both. If you're not, you can obviously just have them shop for the home delivery option. So that's the number one decision you need to make, is just start small, do one day ground. It's going to make life so much easier. You're going to be able to get started so a lot faster, and you're going to have something to go off of. And then from there, you got the experience and you continue to expand. So number two, the second most important thing you need to get right. And this is something we definitely have made the mistake on, and we've seen a lot of I would say this is one of the most common mistakes we see farmers make when they start their shipping program, is that you need to simplify your pricing. So what do I mean by that? Well, the common question we all have once we're doing the research, we see how much cost is involved to get the packaging, to pay FedEx to deliver the order. How in the world do I forward this cost on to my customer? Because your current pricing models are not going to, they're not planning those cost factors in. So for us, when we first started, we forwarded all the costs onto our customers. So we had a per pound delivery fee that they would see at checkout. And I think we were charging Blaine, 99 cents a pound at that time, plus a flat fee. And you can see how that delivery can add up very, very quickly. So we had people who were, paying delivery fees of $40 and $50. And the thing is, online in today's world, and it's just the way it is, consumers are not used to having to pay more than $10 hardly to have something delivered to their home. So this will be a major conversion detractor on your website if you're forwarding all that cost onto your customer as a delivery fee. In fact, if you do the research online, there's so many reports that back this up. But this is a report from Walker Sands that says that 9 out of 10 consumers say that free shipping is the number one incentive for shopping online more. So if you don't figure out a way to build your costs into the price of your product, you're going to lose out on sales, and it's really going to hurt the effectiveness of your shipping program.
Brooks, Brooks, can I jump in just a second? I just want to emphasize that, especially because what you and I are as farms, we're in the repeat business. Okay, and what we've discovered at Seven Sons, and you'll find the same thing. The success of your business really hinges on your ability to bring a customer back, and there's nothing that's going to inhibit a customer from coming back more and more and create fatigue from your customer than a delivery fee on every order, that tax added on to every order. They may try it once, just out of curiosity. They found a new farm. I guess I'm willing to pay the delivery fee once, but getting them to come back, and again, that's where your business is scaled and grows. It's on repeat customers. At Seven Sons, we serve, as I mentioned, over 7,000 to 8,000 customers right now, and 80% of all the orders that come in are from repeat customers. So if we didn't have repeat business, our business would be a fraction of the size. So it's just important to remember that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. That's a good point. There's a lot of work to acquire a customer. It's much easier to keep someone buying from you after you've gone to that work to acquire them. So anything you can do to incentivize, folks coming back and retention, that's an easy decision to make. And, I think a lot of us suffer from, some negative conscience for, we almost feel a little dishonest for building the cost into the price of our product, instead of showing folks at checkout, what does it actually cost to have food delivered to their door. But when you think about it, this is the exact way that, grocery shopping has always worked. You think about a conventional supermarket, they have freight costs in getting food products to that store. But, you don't see the teller, charge you a delivery fee once you get to the checkout line. That would be incredibly inconvenient. And you would, I would not enjoy that experience. So, what they do instead is they just plan for that delivery cost. They build it into the price of the product. And then there's a price on the shelf, so no one has to worry about it. So this really is just as much about, converting your customers, inspiring them to come back. It's about convenience. If someone's on a budget and they're shopping on your website and they're loading up their cart for their $150 budget, and then they get to checkout and they're surprised by a $50 delivery fee, that's an inconvenient experience. Now they got to either replan or they got to go back to their cart and remove some items, but more than likely they're just going to abandon the cart and go to another service who offers the free delivery option.
And Brooks, I feel like just in our industry, and as direct marketers, we've been compelled to, as you mentioned before, we feel like we're doing something wrong by building the cost of shipping into the product itself. But what we found at Seven Sons, I just got to share this, is that we've tried it both ways. And what we find is when we have a delivery fee at checkout, especially if it's something like $30 to $40 or $50, what we find is that more people come to us in emails and say, that's dishonest. That's a trick. You show your prices online and then I get to checkout and then you slap on this delivery fee. So in their minds, that's what's dishonest, because Amazon has changed how people think about buying online. And now they simply expect for you to have all your costs factored in to getting it to them. That's what they expect now. So anything else in most consumers in today's world is dishonest to add that delivery fee at checkout. Is the way it's viewed by a customer. So don't get stuck thinking I need to show my delivery fee as a separate line item cost so people see that cost separately. It's just the opposite.
This is such an important point. So if you're watching on the replay as well, we really want you guys to take this to heart, and it's really just about putting your customer first. What do your customers want? How do they want to shop? And we know you can just do a search on Google. We know that online shoppers, they don't want to have to pay delivery fees. So if you solve that problem for them, again, the more problems you solve, the more your business is going to benefit. So, and I think it's just a common truth, in business and through our experience, if you want to get, if there's somewhere that you want to go, look at someone who's 10 steps ahead of you or 100 steps ahead of you and watch what they're doing. And that's going to, success always leaves clues. So if you see folks who are doing, selling grass-fed meats products online, if you do the research, you're going to see that they all have an option for some sort of either discounted or free delivery on their websites. So no one at scale is trying to scale passing on all their delivery costs to their customers. But on the logistics side of things, you might be thinking, okay, so I have one website. I already have people who are buying from me through pickup locations and pickup at the farm. How am I supposed to, I don't want to just increase my price for everybody, because that wouldn't be fair to people who are already buying to me. So how can I have multiple pricing on one website? So again, this was another problem that we ran into 3 years ago as we were getting started with all of this. So, with the different sales channels we had the pickup locations, we had shipping, and we had our local customers who would pre-order and buy for our farm store. So we created a feature called pricing groups, which basically it allows you to create multiple different pricing tiers and then make those available to the different types of channels that people will shop for on your website. So basically what it allows you to do is just factor in what are the economic models for your cost to service a customer and make sure that everyone's paying the pricing tier that makes sense to them. And then that allows you to offer either a discounted or a free delivery option at checkout. So just some tactics. This is about 3 steps to do. So if you sign up for Gray's Cart, you can create a pricing group. and you can just figure out what are your shipping costs by a percentage. Basically, what is your, how much cost do you have in shipping as a percentage of revenue? You can easily apply that to all your products in Grace Cart, and it's done in about three clicks.
Brooks, on here, I just see a comment. Rick says, this is genius. The reality is, and we always remind people, Grace Cart as an e-commerce platform, it was built first to solve the problems of our customers at Seven Sons. We built it to solve our customers' problem and therefore, we built it then secondly to solve our problem as a business. And then thirdly, Grace Cart exists as a software business. And so literally it's built from the ground up with a consumer's needs first, then the farmer's needs built on top of that, and then it just happens to be a software business. And that is the opposite a priority from any other e-commerce system out there. All e-commerce systems, especially the ones, there's a lot of new e-commerce systems that are coming out for farms only, and these are all software developers and a lot of them just entrepreneurs trying to come up with a business idea and trying to figure out what are the problems that farms are having. They're not even thinking about your customers' problems. So that's why we love making this service available to other farms, is because we're simply just solving the problems that your customers are going to have. We've been through it, we've been there, and we don't want everyone else to have to solve them over and over again when a lot of them can be taken care of. So
some tactics here as far as how this works. If you just on the website, so someone comes to our site, they hit shop now, they enter in that zip code. That's going to tell us if they live in our home delivery region, which they'll automatically be assigned to that, and it'll show them the shipping price that we have built in for that specific area. In fact, Blaine, we have 3 different pricing groups depending on where our customers would live and the cost that it takes, because obviously someone on the West Coast, there's more cost involved in that than someone who lives a state away. So when they put in their zip code, it'll show them the pricing specifically for their region. And then you can see how this would work. If someone was shopping for pickup at our farm store, the price on that product is going to be discounted accordingly. So this is a way to get basically zip code level pricing and make sure that you're servicing your customers in a way, where everyone's paying for the cost that's involved. It's really honestly the most honest and fair way to do it for each consumer, where they're not paying for the cost that you have to service someone, 5 states away. That's a good point, Brooks, because most of the big guys that are servicing nationwide shipping, they're just figuring an average cost to ship. So that means that the person 10 miles down the road from that warehouse is going to pay the same price that the person has to pay on the opposite side of the country. And so that there means there's an opportunity for you as a local farm to not have to spread those kind of average cost out for everybody and just serve the people that are closer to you with a really good value. That alone allows you to make so many steps towards being competitive with your delivery price. I was just going to say, it really does allow you to have a competitive edge, because if you're looking at everyone who's scaled in this industry, you go to ButcherBox, Crowd Cow, to name some names, they're just having to charge this average price for what it costs them to service the whole country. So this is a way where you can get more tailored with it and be more competitive for the folks that you serve. We actually just built in, Blaine, a new feature into this that I wanted to share as well. So if you don't want to ask your customers to put in their zip code because you want them to see the products before asking them to submit any field, we actually built a new option to where you can just hide the pricing, so that way they can see your product offering. And then in order to see the price, they just simply have to easily just create an account, and that will show the pricing in their area. So we're always constantly trying to improve how all of this works. And this is something we add just a few weeks ago to the way that shopping experience works. One more question you might be thinking about when it comes to selling products online and doing shipping along with maybe local pickup is, what about your products that don't ship very well? So this is something we learned the hard way, because eggs are a big part of what we do, and eggs are fragile and they don't fit the shipping program nearly as well as they did our home delivery and the buying club or the pickup locations that we used to do. The dry ice would freeze the eggs, or the rough handling from UPS or FedEx would crack the eggs. So we actually built, again, this is 3 years ago when we're just getting started with this, we built another feature into Grace Cart that allows you to basically, we call it product exclusivity. So in addition to assigning pricing to these different channels and the different areas that people live, you can exclude certain products to those certain, delivery methods as well. So it allows you to have tailored pricing and a tailored product selection specifically for how people are shopping from you. So this is going to be something that'll fit if you have, eggs, products like eggs, if you're shipping things, or if you offer things like, honey and syrups, things that are, shelf stable, they'll actually work against the frozen items inside your box. So those are some items that we had to remove, basically anything that wasn't frozen from our shipping program. And this allows you to you can continue to offer online, but only for the people that the delivery method makes sense for. So this is what it looks for. Again, if someone's shopping to pick up at our farm store, they'll see eggs. But if they're shopping for our home delivery program, they'll actually see, Blaine said that we've been working on packaging to make eggs work. So we have finally figured this out, but it's through a whole different pricing program for the eggs, because there was a special box that we use and there's cost involved in that. But we're able, again, to just be tailored for this to make sure the product's still available for everybody at a price point that makes sense and works. So building in, we like to call this really, it's logic built into your website. So if you have these parameters defined, what it does is this reduces that buyer friction that we were talking about before. So I kind of just created this slide to kind of represent, if someone comes to your online website, again, we're seeing as the online world gets more competitive, consumers' attention spans get shorter and shorter. If they go to your website and they, for one thing, your website is supposed to tell your farm story. But then if you have all these different sales channels where you do pickup locations, you do shipping, and if there's pricing structures that are different, as well as products that are different, it's going to be very hard to try and communicate all of that to your customer on the website and in hope that they don't somehow mess it up while they're shopping. People don't really read websites anymore. We find that they scan them. So building this logic into your shopping cart ahead of time and taking the guesswork and those decisions out of it for your customer is going to just really improve that user experience. It basically takes all of these barriers out of the way. And by asking for that zip code or asking them to create an account to view the price, that just, it gets them so much closer to placing an order and doing business with you. So that's what we're trying to do is, basically by, where someone lives, what's going to be the price in their area and all this logic behind the scenes. If you can program that into your system, it just allows you to create that A+ experience, reduce the buyer friction and confusion on your website. So that completes tier number 2. We're going to try to keep working through this. I'm hoping we can get through and open up the Q&A here at 6. But again, simplify pricing. If you don't simplify your pricing, you're going to really struggle to see success with the shipping program. Number 3 is going to be to figure out how to leverage the economies of scale. So this is the third ingredient to really have success when it comes to shipping. We have found, and you've probably found as well, is that shipping is expensive to get into when you're starting from scratch. So anywhere that you can, tap into economies of scale, find the right packaging, purchasing in volume rates in order to get your price down, the more you're going to benefit. So, just real quick, as far as economies of scale, we define this as the cost advantages that are inherited by companies when production becomes efficient as a result of scale. So, of course, this is true you're probably familiar with this concept with production areas on your farm. If you start a laying hen enterprise, you're going to tap into certain economies of scale when you start out with 300 hens versus a 3,000 laying hen enterprise. You might be able to get your feed purchased in bulk. Trying to think of a few more. You probably get a discount on, at the hatchery and on your layers. Blaine can probably think of a few more for me as well. If you're buying nesting boxes, I'm sure there's going to be a discount on that as you hit that scale. So this is true. It's going to be even more true. It's true with every enterprise on your farm, but it's going to be even more true when it comes to shipping. So again, this is just the idea. As you increase that volume, your cost per output goes down. We built this little spreadsheet to kind of define the different cost areas of your shipping program. And what we want everyone to do is really focus on just 3 different areas, because when it comes to shipping, there's 3 areas that can be leveraged with scale more than anything else. It's going to be your packaging. It's going to be your coolant. So that's your dry ice or your gel packs, whatever you're using for coolant. and then your carrier costs. So the shipping fees that you have from FedEx and UPS. These three things we quote out, Blaine, every 6 months. We try to make a practice of quoting these out from different companies and bidding them against each other.
Recently, we've been doing it close to every month just to verify where we are. So
yeah. So if these are the areas that you're going to want to watch, and when you're starting out, what I would recommend is also spending the most time here by quoting as many different companies as you have the time for, to make sure that you're finding the lowest cost option when you're starting completely from scratch. So, the other areas when it comes to the things that you're going to need as far as your website and marketing tools, and your fulfillment, labor, whether that's you or you're hiring someone to help out with packing orders, there's not nearly as much you can do to get those costs down. They're much more fixed than these three areas. And we're going to have, we have suggestions for kind of some companies that you can reach out to when you're starting complete from scratch that we feel like are the best options. So we're going to share some of those at the end, so you kind of have a starting point to go off of. So again, as I mentioned, with these three cost areas, just some tips for you guys when you're starting out. These are the things that I would ask other farmers about, see where they're sourcing their packaging, and folks that in the industry to see what options have worked well. Maybe, especially ask what are the things that they use when they first got started. Quote at least 3 different companies on those 3 different, areas, your gel packs or dry ice, your packaging, and make sure that you pick the lowest cost option that you buy. And when you're quoting, try to find manufacturers if you can. You're always going to have your lowest cost buying from a manufacturer who creates your manufacturers the dry ice versus, a distributor who sells it, or if you're buying it over the counter. Those are the areas that you're going to want to focus. And if you can't invest up front, when you get quotes from these companies, they're usually going to give you some bulk discount tiers. If you buy X amount, you'll get this discount. And even if you can't invest in, some of those higher volume purchases up front, you at least know where you can get your cost down to if you're able to scale your shipping program. So this actually gives you the opportunity, if you know what those cost numbers are going to be if you scale, it gives you the opportunity to consider slightly subsidizing your shipping program and start maybe at something that's lower than your typical margins just to get started and pick up some volume. And then because you're going to get your cost numbers down in those 3 different categories as you start to scale. I wouldn't recommend, breaking even or anything like that. You need to make sure that it's working well for you and make sure that you can, then have the, capital to make those investments as you grow. But you can consider not having to forward all of that startup cost onto your customer when you're just getting started, because it could be a barrier to growth.
Right. So I think, Brooks, what you're really saying is don't get hung up on, that eventually you need to be ordering, 500 boxes at a time, not 25 boxes at a time. And we get that, but don't let that be a roadblock to just getting started with the first 25 boxes. Obviously those 25 boxes will be at a higher cost than your next 500 and your next 5,000, but just get started. Don't let that be a barrier to just getting off the ground. You will be able to, you'll quote more companies, you'll find more companies. And as Brooks said, ask other people in your area what they use, because if you can find a local manufacturer, that's a big opportunity for savings on shipping corrugate and insulated containers. So,
yeah. And again, even if your cost numbers aren't what obviously you would like them to see when you're starting from scratch, using those pricing groups, you can start with a number that works. And then as you get your costs lower, there's no harm in lowering your prices to your customers as you scale and, down the road. That obviously is always going to be welcome from your customers. So the 3, in these 3 areas, some places that we recommend getting started is there is a Uline foam insulated liner. This is what we use to start our shipping program. Yes, it's from Uline, but we recommend it because it's something that's widely available across the country. And again, it's at a price point that you can definitely, we've been impressed with the price point they're able to hit on this. It's definitely a number that you can get started on in scratch without having to invest in, volume bulk purchases up front. There's also a company here that we recommend for gel packs, where we've seen folks get their gel pack cost down to, I think it's 33 cents a pound through this vendor, and you only have to buy a case at a time. So it's a great way to get started with, again, without having put a lot of capital to this and still get a very good price. And this template should be able to work together in a one-day ground transit region. One of the reasons why we recommend this U-line liner is it's a template that could work without dry ice, because dry ice, and we didn't mention this earlier, but dry ice is going to be one of your biggest barriers to probably getting started, because most of the dry ice manufacturers are going to have high order minimums, and the cost starts out really high if you start, just by purchasing, low quantities in the beginning. So dry ice is a barrier, and especially depending on where you're located. If you're located out west, I know dry ice costs are higher out there as well. So getting started with gel packs, it's something that you can it's easier to launch. And so starting with one-day ground, that's another big value point of that, is you can use this foam liner with the gel packs and the template works. With your shipping spend, we're going to talk about this now or a little bit more later, but there are, instead of, when you start looking for what carrier to use, UPS or FedEx, instead of going to ups.com or your local UPS office and just shipping your boxes over the counter, you can actually partner up with what we call authorized resellers. So these are basically bulk buy programs where multiple shippers all group together and they ship under one account, and then they pass the discounts and the savings that company gets onto everyone who's shipping under that account. It's one of the easiest ways that you can get started and save some shipping costs when you're starting from scratch. So there's a lot of different third-party resellers out there. We're going to make a recommendation for one at the end, but UPS has some options, FedEx has some options, and it's one of the easiest things you can do to start saving on shipping. And a lot of the third-party resellers will actually have some value-added services that they provide with transit monitoring and weather monitoring and things like that. So you get a value-added service, plus you save money. So it's a great win-win. And that completes the Venn diagram for us. Again, it is this simple to get started. If you focus on these three areas, this is going to be the three most key ingredients. If you don't focus on eliminating complexities, you really are going to struggle to get started if you're trying to service the entire country or something like that. And if you don't simplify your pricing, you're going to struggle to convert people on your website. Again, you can get started, but it's going to be slow growth. It's going to take you longer to get to those economies of scale. And again, as you start the big thing with economies of scale is that you need to identify them early, so that way you understand what your economics can be down the road. So if you understand that, then you have a much clearer picture of what you're going to profit from your shipping enterprise. So that completes the framework. For anyone who's on the call, again, this is just kind of us, what we've done. We've taken, the 3 years of experience we've had, and this has grown from completely scratch to our fastest growing sales channel, and now accounts for the majority of our e-commerce business. When we got started, again, the Perishable Shipping for Dummies book hadn't been written. So we get a lot of questions when it comes to shipping. So this is the framework that kind of, gives you the high level aspects of what to get right when you're getting started. But there's still a lot of details that you're going to have to find into when it comes to getting your packaging, the tech stuff with setting up your website. So anyone on this call, if you're interested in getting this framework in place faster and getting shipping off the ground faster for your farm, we've created an online course that is called the Perishable Shipping Launchpad. We can only get so far inside of a 1-hour webinar. And this process is going to be more in depth than that when it comes to all the how-tos, from getting started completely from scratch to shipping your first box out the door. So what we did, since we get so many questions on this, is we took the time to actually create an online course completely dedicated to the topic. And it's basically a course that provides a 6-week launch plan that walks through, the first step that you need to get started all the way down to the finish line and shipping that first box. We're going to show you a way that you can get this course. So originally, when we first launched this, the investment for the course was $1,500. We're going to show you a way that you can get access to this for at no charge. But first, we're going to review what's included inside of the training. That way you guys have a peek at the material. And this goes for everyone who's on the replay as well. So if you're watching this on the replay, we're going to make this offer available to you guys as well. And a few of you might be aware that we made a limited access to this available as we started to see some things escalate with COVID-19. So some of you may have digested some of this material and the value of it. But there's basically going to be about 5 different key modules in here. We're going to walk you through first how to build that box template. So we're going to help you think about, depending on your geographic location, what do you really need to be thinking about in order to make a box template that works in your area and safely delivers product to your customer store, frozen and intact. We're going to show you Blaine talked about earlier how we have done a lot of tests. Okay, so you're going to figure out that once you get started with shipping, you're going to constantly be testing, because you're always going to want to be quoting new packaging and types of style boxes that are out there to get your costs lower. And you're going to want to have a system in place for testing that packaging to make sure that it works for your program. So we've done a lot of these. We got a system for it. We're going to go into that in detail. A big thing about shipping as well is that, traditionally you've probably been servicing your customers through farmers markets and pickup locations, which have a face-to-face component to it, which helps build a relationship. And once you start doing to your door shipping through UPS and FedEx, that isn't there. So you're going to have to put more effort into trying to recreate that virtually. So one of the big aspects that comes into that with shipping is the unboxing moment. So we're going to show you some of the things that we've put together over the years to create what we call a magical unboxing experience. Then we'll dive into, this is really the tech side of creating that regional delivery zone on your website, and really what are the flexibilities that different use cases you can use with delivery zones, whether you're shipping through UPS and FedEx or even doing your own home delivery program. We're going to show you what are the things you need to be thinking about when it comes to partner with the right carrier for your area. UPS, FedEx, they all have advantages. So we'll let you know what are the key things you need to be thinking about that for your operation. We're going to go deep into pricing. So I saw someone in the chat box earlier, they said that was one of when we asked them what was your biggest problem to getting started, it was just figuring out how to plan for all the costs and figure that into the products and account for it to make sure that your shipping program is profitable. We're also going to do a tour. We have, I think, Blaine, a 20-minute tour inside the course that's going to overview our fulfillment process at Seven Sons, and just really what are some of the steps that we have in place to make that as efficient as possible. And there's going to be a library of website tech training. So again, we're using GraceCart to build in that logic to make that A+ user experience for our customers. So this section of the course is going to dive into what you need to get right on the website to create that A+ experience. There's a resource guide that's included in there as well, and we call this the Perishable Shippers Toolkit. So this is really just, we gave you some options to start out for packaging, but this goes much more in depth into that for basically all the context that we have found over the years for boxes, dry ice, the type of carriers that you might want to use, the third-party resellers. We have printing suggestions set up on there as well. So we really didn't hold back. The resources that you're going to want to know about when you're getting into this, they're all included in that guide there. I mentioned earlier that when we were talking about third-party resellers, that we have a preferred vendor that we share with folks who sign up for this course, where you can get access to up to 20% savings on ground shipping rates. So this is through a partner of ours called Perishable. You can do research on them, but they're a third-party distributor for FedEx. And normally when you start researching, third-party resellers and how to get your shipping costs down, you're going to find that a lot of them, they may not want to work with you if you're starting completely from scratch, just because, if you're starting from scratch and you don't have a lot of volume, then you're not contributing to the whole thing that makes the discounts work. So they might not be as motivated to talk to you. But Perishable, they're willing to pass these savings along to any of our students who sign up for the course, because they know that you're going to have more context for the logistics world, and that you're going to be a lower maintenance client for them. So this is something we had to pull a few strings, but they have been willing to pass these rates along to all of our clients who sign up for the course. So what we're going to do basically is this you can get up to, what are we going to do, Blaine? A year access to this training program is what we'll provide for anyone who signs up for the Grace Cart program. So if you sign up, if you're looking for an e-commerce system, shipping's been on your radar. We've talked about some of the tools that we have built to make life a little easier and hopefully reduce a few headaches when it comes to perishable shipping. So if you sign up for the program, let us know, reply to your receipt and let us know that you've done that and that you'd like access to the perishable shipping course. And we'll send you a link to where you can get access to that with a coupon at no cost. And again, if you're watching replay, that's going to be available to you as well. And one of the big perks, what this slide is here for, is once you sign up for Grace Cart, we have a private Facebook community that you will get access to join. And this is for our clients only. So it's for folks who are using the Grace Cart program to come together to offer positive support to each other and share success stories. And we've had folks who've said that this is one of the biggest value points of being a Grace Cart client, is just having that community, folks who are in similar shoes to turn to when they have questions, and just really just get a peek into the business of the folks who are maybe a few steps ahead of you in your stage of your business.
Yeah, Brooks, I just want to emphasize that. And a few people have asked, what if I'm already a Grace Cart customer? Absolutely, you get access to that course. And again, I just want to review what you're saying, Brooks. So the original course was a $1,500 course. Given what we're seeing in the environment and how important it is for farms to learn how to ship and ship fast, we're making that course available free of charge for anyone that signs up for the Grace Cart e-commerce platform and signs up for a paid plan. They get access to the course for a full year, free of charge. And then you also get access to our exclusive Grace Cart Campfire community. And that has been, we hear so much from so many members about how helpful the support community is. We really believe at our core at Seven Sons about collaboration, and that ideas get bigger when they're shared. And so the Grace Cart community is really where that information exchange begins to really happen at a fast rate. That catalyst of exchange of ideas happen at the Grace Cart Campfire community. So just want to chime in there.
Yeah, we feel very privileged and grateful to have some really smart and successful people using the program. So there's ideas that are shared in there that we pick up on, and it's a great place where ideas get bigger. Again, when
people ask why we help other farms get started with direct marketing. And the answer to that is it helps us. It brings this community of collaboration around, and the ideas that we all share with each other just create a bigger and bigger pie for all of us. So,
yeah, again, we're better off together in this. So this is an aspect that you'll get access to either way as you sign up as a Grace Cart client. So again, this was something that we originally had made available, but given the timing and the acceleration that we know is needed to get started in perishable shipping, now is never a better time to focus on this strategy. This is why we wanted to make this course available at no additional charge. So you're going to get the saving of the course if you sign up for Grace Cart. And just to put some numbers on the FedEx savings that you could get at the 28%, I put a little equation in here. If you were shipping a box at $25, and if you ship your first 100 boxes, that could be a $700 savings for you. And these are discounts that PeriShip would not pass on to a client that they first get started with. There are additional discounts that they're only giving folks who will start through this course. So, if for some reason, again, we're going to give you options to quote a lot of third-party resellers, so you can be confident that you're finding the best price. But I think you're going to find this quote hard to beat if you're starting out completely from scratch. So to sign up, and again, Blaine mentioned it, if you're already a client, you've signed up for us recently, just send us a support email. It's support@gracecart.com. Blaine, I don't know if you want to put that in the chat box. Let us know, and we'll get you a coupon so you can get into the training. But if you're new, all you need to do is just sign up for a free trial. And if you choose a paid plan, again, just send us an email. Let us know that you are on the webinar, and we'll be sure to get you the coupon so you can start digesting that training and get launched and off the ground. Again, it's been exciting. We've seen folks who kind of took this course when we first got started We encourage folks to, once you get it off the ground, share your wins, the success stories inside the Facebook group. And these are just a few folks who have shared some of their first shipping days to see their boxes go out and figure this out. And we're seeing, Blaine, people who are getting completely launched and started within or under that 6 weeks launch time. I mean, not everybody, if you didn't put the time in to focus on it, but with some serious focus. And I know we're hearing from a lot of people right now who are putting in a lot of effort in getting set up online, developing their shipping program. With serious focus, you can get this launch very, very quickly.
Yeah, Brooks, Rick mentioned in the comments here just on the webinar, he said, I've attempted online shipping for nearly 20 years. The shipping course turned the light on for me. So he's looking at getting started and launching shipping within just a few weeks now. So congrats, Rick. Thanks for sharing that.
So again, hopefully this training has given you guys something to digest either way. And the course is there if you're ready to accelerate the process. At this point, Blaine, I think we're ready. I know we tried our best to keep this short, but we've gone a little bit into this, and we're ready for Q&A. I know there's been questions going through, but it would probably be best if you guys had a question just to pop it back in the
and Brooks, I have been recording a couple here on my end as well, but Amy just asked a great question. It's a logical next question. If I sign up for Gray's Cart, do I set up the shop myself, or does someone here do that for them? Basically, how does that work? So I think the idea here is that we've really built a slick self-serve system, and we don't charge any setup or getting started fees, right, Brooks? You can elaborate on that.
What we've done is, I don't know how to code. Blaine, I think he knows a little bit of front end coding, but basically we wanted to build a platform that any of our team members could get in to make changes to, and it was very, very intuitive for us to update and build ourselves. So that's the way the system is. And since we've done that, we don't charge a setup fee, so that you can have your self-serve. If you want to do this, you can set up your site yourself. There's training documentation that does video over the shoulder, videos through the process just to accelerate learning the new system. But if you're on a time crunch and you really would just like to have someone who's more familiar with setting up websites and can give you a professional look, there are designers who have worked with many of our Gray's Cart clients in the past, so they're very familiar with Gray's Cart that we can introduce you to. So if you're in that position, again, just send us a support email and let us know, and we can definitely make introductions for some folks who can get your website set up and do a lot of that heavy lifting for you. So probably accelerate the process, and again, come out with a very professional result.
Yes, and I want to just mention, when it comes to setup for a website, I mean, when it comes to paying for website setup, again, you can do it with the tools that we built. We build it so that we don't know website design and coding. We build it so that anyone can take it, so that we don't have to require any setup fees initially. You can just get started by yourself. But remember, when you go to pay someone or a company to develop your website, you get what you pay for. I know there's other providers out there that require setup fees and that they're going to do a bunch of setup for you. Just remember, there's always trade-offs, and that if you're getting the opportunity to have your website set up for you at a low-cost setup fee, again, watch the details. A lot of times you're set up with a very simple store. And a lot of times there's e-commerce companies that are they're venture funded, so they have capital funding them. And again, those are companies that haven't built a website platform from scratch that truly solves your problems. I always tell people, we're a farm. We never ever would have created a website platform unless there was nothing out there that served our needs. That's the reason Gray's Cart exists. It developed from a need. You get what you pay for when it comes to an e-commerce system.
Yeah, it's a good point. Again, Gray's Cart was a byproduct of many very specific problems that we had in this industry. And there's a lot of people out there who don't have that intimate understanding of the problem. In fact, I think we've seen providers who will tell you that they offer you a website, but they're really just reselling someone else's website for you instead. So you got to be careful.
That's a very common one. We're seeing that all the time.
But anyways, great question. Do you have a second one that you we're keeping notes?
Just real quick, Rick asked if he was part of that COVID-19 relief training that we did. Can he, if he's a Grace Cart client, can he get a full year access to the course? And the answer is, Rick, absolutely yes, absolutely.
Yep.
So.
Yep. If you've recently signed up or you got the limited access that we did earlier, we'll get you access for the year. Again, just to make sure that you get put in that group, send us an email, and we'll make sure that you're referenced in that.
We've got a few really good questions here I want to get to. Do you have a rule of thumb for your average cost per order or per pound, as someone asked?
Yeah, when starting completely from scratch, Blaine, we've talked a lot about this, but I would plan for when you're, again, this is not just your shipping costs that you're going to have with FedEx or UPS, it's your packaging, your dry ice. So all the factors that come into it together, we would plan for $1 to $1.25 a pound is where we've seen people who are getting started kind of land. Again, depending on where you are in the country, yours might be a little bit different, but that's what we've seen mostly for folks starting completely from scratch. But again, the beauty of it is you get started with that. Your customers, I will tell you, they will pay for it. If you build it into the price of your products, you offer a competitive delivery fee at checkout or an option to get free delivery. They will pay that additional price. And then the beauty of it, as you grow, you get that cost down, which can either, be added to the bottom line or something that you can pass on and reward those customers for supporting you.
And Brooks, someone earlier asked a question about, so are we promoting the idea of having just a low cost delivery fee or no delivery fee at all? In I think what you said in the webinar already, and what we go into the course and more in depth, is that you want to have at least an option. So if your customer buys so much, they get free delivery. So at Seven Sons, we have Brooks, it's basically a $10 handling fee or delivery fee that's on every order, but it goes away after you reach $149 worth of product. And Grace Cart automatically does that for you. It's configured so that you can set that up to do that. So that's the answer. Hopefully that clarifies that. Another question, Brooke, someone asked, what if I looks like they have a certain size box, and what happens when the entire order doesn't fit in one box? Obviously the solution is, and what we have is, we have at least 3 box sizes, correct, Brooks? So that we're always able to get the box or the order in one box.
Yeah, we don't go crazy with our box sizes. We just do 3 again, and we look really closely at what our average order size is to come up with those 3 different box sizes. But doing 3, that allows us to get all 3 of those, purchased in bulk. We're buying them from the same provider. And then that allows us, again, to optimize the size order with the different size box that we add. Something we talk about it in the course, but just real briefly, something we also encourage is adding an order minimum to your website. Grace Cart allows you to do this specifically for your shipping customers. And we require $75 for folks to do business with us through the shipping, because they're just, when you get those real small orders, the economics just don't work out very well. And it's going to be really hard to make that affordable work for everybody and keep the product frozen is the big deal. A couple of things on box sizes as well. FedEx and UPS, they have a large box surcharge for anything over 50 pounds. So that will kind of be your large size box. And then our small size box, Blaine, holds about 13 pounds. So that gives you a little bit of what we've done with our experience.
Yep, exactly. Really good questions, guys. And you're going to have questions. And again, this is where signing up for Grace Cart, getting access to the course, and getting access to that Grace Cart Campfire Facebook community. You're always going to have questions getting set up and then ongoing, and that's just a place where you get to network with a couple hundred of some of the most innovative farms that are doing shipping, where you can always ask those questions. But another question here, Brooks, you mentioned that if someone's puts in their zip code on using a Grace Cart website, and if they have availability for pickup at our farm, let's say they live close, they're going to see a lower cost for picking up at our farm versus if they switch to a home delivery option and see a higher cost built into it. And the best solution I can think there, Brooks, and maybe you can think of something there, but when a customer goes to checkout, Grace Cart actually allows you to have a custom message displayed at checkout based on where they're picking up. So in that case, if they're picking up at your farm, you just want to display their prices for product picked up at our farm automatically include a 10% off discount. So you just put in the expectation there. So if they're at checkout and they're toggling between home delivery versus pick up at your farm, if they're close enough, they'll get to see that message. It'll just make sense to them that it costs more to have it delivered. So any other comments on that, Brooks?
Nope. Again, we don't, there's a lot of, detail scenarios that have come up on your website that it's good to be thinking about them, because like Blaine's saying, you can provide that expectation to hedge those questions that you might get from customers who kind of fell in a scenario like that, where they change from farm pickup to your shipping, and it will help reduce some support for you. But we don't want those scenarios to be a barrier to going about this process and building in the shipping costs into the price of your product. Because again, that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to provide convenience to them, and you can be transparent about that, letting folks who are picking up, letting folks know who are picking up at the farm that their pricing includes the discount. And then you can even include a checkout message that for your shipping customers that lets them know that shipping cost has been included in the price of the product. And I think we actually do that on our website as well. So you can still be transparent with the whole thing, and it's just about providing convenience for your shoppers.
Well, Brooks, this we've kind of gone a little longer than what we were thinking, and I know we've had a lot of folks that have stuck with us. Almost everyone is stuck on the call here. I know we need to get this wrapped up. And again, any unanswered questions, again, if you take advantage of the offer that Brooks was telling about, signing up for Grace Cart, you're going to get access to our Facebook community where those questions will all get answered inside there. Brooks, is there anything else that you wanted to, or any other questions that you want to make sure we covered before we wrap things up here?
No, I don't think so. I do want to address anyone again who watches this video on the replay that, what we've gone over applies to you, as well as, access to the course if you sign up for Grace Cart. But you might even be watching this if you've, already recently signed up. You can still get access. If you're watching the video here, you can get access to the course. So, if you stumble across this later, or if someone comes back to watch this afterwards, we just want to make sure we address you as well. And that you can get access to the course just by sending us a support message. But no, in closing, go ahead.
Do you mind if I share our big vision with everybody on the webinar and the watching the replay? Was it, Brooks, about a year ago, we were traveling somewhere and we really wanted to get solid on what our vision looks like that we could share with our customers and with other Grace Cart client farms. And really our vision from now until 2023, we want to partner with 1,000 farms, and we want to see those 1,000 farms collectively deliver over 20 million pounds of regenerative foods to people's homes. And so that's the mission that we're on. We've got a deadline of 2023. We want to get as many farms in this ecosystem, in this community, to serve more people. And so we want to invite you in to help us, to all of us work together, 1,000 farms. I know with Grace Cart, Brooks, how many farms are we working with so far?
350 in North America, yeah. Mm-hmm.
350 in North America. And how close are we to that 20 million pounds? Where are we at on that?
We're right about at 10. So we're
10 million. So halfway there, we're going to get there. So I just want to share that with everybody. It's a collaborative vision that we want to share with you and have you join with us as a larger community. So, any closing thoughts there, Rex?
No, we appreciate everyone joining again, and time is valuable, and I know there's a lot going on. So we appreciate you investing your time in yourself and in learning knowledge that you can take back to benefit your operation. We've been preaching convenience for a long time. We've been preaching home delivery and shipping for a long time. There's never a better time to start than today. And this is going to give you the path, to get off the ground. So
really, Brooks, getting started with shipping is such a low risk thing to do, and yet such a huge potential upside. The number of customers that you become accessible to just by taking that step. I mean, like us, Brooks, we spent our first 10 years in business making thousands and thousands of dollars of investments on the farm side, getting to the point where we have products to sell. And then we tended to hold back on investing in the things that were really going to move the needle to bring us customers and make us accessible and finally get our farm launched to consumers. So our encouragement, don't make the mistake we made by holding back. Don't stay in that third year struggle for 10 years like we did. Take the next step, get started. It's well worth. It's such a small fraction of investment of your time in your resources and money for such a huge upside. And as Brooke said, now is the time to do this. There's a lot of opportunity right now, and I think we're going to see a large demand for home delivery even beyond this year and in the coming years here. So,
yeah, there's never a better time to get started. And there's no other decision or strategy you could focus on that could open your farm up and make your farm more accessible to more potential customers. So
we'll see those that join us inside the Grace Cart community where we can chat and continue the discussion.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you next time.